Whatever the human mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. Do you truly believe that? If that is true, then everything stopping you from living the life of your dreams lies within your own mind. Think with me. What if what's holding you back isn't a lack of ability but an excess of fear? Fear of trying, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of discovering that you have potential but are wasting every day in silence. What if today was the day you decided to act confidently, even without knowing what will happen? Have you ever stopped to think how many opportunities you have missed just because of fear? Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of realizing you could have succeeded but hid away. The scariest part is that this fear doesn't always shout. Sometimes it disguises itself as logic, caution, or a better wait a little longer. And that's when it wins. Because fear doesn't have to stop you by force, it only needs to convince you not to try. Napoleon Hill said that the limitations we face are not in the world, they are in our minds. When you truly understand this, everything changes. It's not the circumstances holding you back, but the thoughts you choose to believe. How many times have you looked in the mirror and thought, "This isn't for me, I wasn't born for this, I'm not good enough"? Worse, how many times have you accepted that as absolute truth, as if it were carved in stone? But let me tell you something most people ignore. Fear is a mental construct, it's not a fact, it's an idea. And ideas can be changed. Science has proven this. Studies from the National Institute of Mental Health show our brains react the same way to real and imagined threats. Meaning you're feeling the effects of something that doesn't even exist, the anticipation of failure, the shame of judgment that never happened, the pain of a defeat you never faced. But what if that day never arrives? What if the preparation you wait for is actually just a clever disguise for fear? You are not alone. According to a study by the University of Scranton, 92% of people fail to achieve their New Year's goals. Not because they are incapable, but because the fear of failure is stronger than the desire to succeed. This happens because, in practice, it is more comfortable not to try. Failure hurts, but do you know what hurts more? The eternal doubt about what would have happened if you had tried. Therefore, the first step to building confidence is not convincing yourself that everything will work out, but accepting that fear will be there. Yet, it has no right to control you. When you start acting despite fear, something changes. You begin to rewrite your own identity. You move from being a spectator of your life to taking on the role of protagonist. This does not mean doing great things immediately. It can be something simple: calling a person you have been avoiding, applying for a job you believe you are not fully ready for, posting content that reflects your true self, opening a notebook, and starting to write the plan you have postponed for months. Action does not need to be perfect. It just needs to happen. The more you act, the more confidence grows, because confidence is forged in practice, not in thought. Confidence is born when you prove to yourself that you can, and that only happens when you move. So tell me, what are you postponing today? What is that step you know you need to take but keep pushing aside? And if you decide to take that step now, even trembling, even afraid, what could happen? Maybe nothing changes immediately, but something inside you will start to change. Some people spend their entire lives waiting to feel confident before starting, waiting for the right moment, the ideal condition, or courage to magically appear. But the truth is, confidence never comes before action. It is born afterward as a consequence. This is one of the biggest traps that keeps people paralyzed. They believe they must feel ready to act, when in fact they need to act to feel ready. Napoleon Hill deeply understood this while studying the lives of the most successful men of his time. He noticed a pattern. None of them waited to feel 100% prepared to start. They just started, acting with doubts, fears, uncertainties, but they acted. And it was this constant movement that made self-confidence grow. Because it is impossible to trust yourself if you have no proof of your own ability. And the only way to generate that proof is through action. Think about it. How do you expect to trust yourself if you never test yourself? How will you believe you can solve difficult problems if you always run away from them? How will you see yourself as capable if your routine is to say no to everything that pushes you out of your comfort zone? Confidence is like a muscle. Nobody is born with defined biceps, but the more you train, the stronger it gets. Every small decision to act, every moment you face discomfort and keep going, is like a repetition in the gym of life, training your mind to believe you can, even if the inner voice says otherwise. And here comes one of the most powerful stories about this topic. Theodore Roosevelt, former President of the United States, was not born strong. On the contrary, he was a fragile, asthmatic, shy child, considered by his family as someone unlikely to achieve much. But Roosevelt made a radical decision. He would not accept that identity. He consciously decided to build his own confidence. He threw himself into intense physical training, entered politics despite being ignored at first, faced battles, debates, and pressures that would have broken any ordinary person. But he was no longer ordinary, because he had decided to repeatedly act as if he was already the person he wanted to be, and in time, he became that person. This is what almost no one understands. True confidence does not come from others' praise. It is born from silence. From those nights when no one sees you but you keep trying. From moments when you feel fear but choose to act anyway. This is where you begin to respect yourself. And when you respect yourself, the world begins to respect you too. If this still feels distant from your reality, let me bring it closer. Remember the last time you postponed something important, a project, a conversation, a decision. Did you feel more confident after delaying it? Or more frustrated because that is what happens? With every retreat, your mind understands you don't trust yourself, and it will remind you of that at the next challenge. On the other hand, when you act despite trembling and doubt, your mind records, "I did it." And this becomes the foundation for future confidence. Studies by the American Psychological Association show that self-efficacy, the belief that you can do something, grows when you gradually expose yourself to challenges and overcome them, even partially. It's not about great victories, it's about consistency. Small daily wins accumulated with discipline build an unshakable base. Now I want you to visualize something. Imagine a well. Confidence lies at the bottom of this well, but there's no rope. The only way to reach it is to dig. Every act of courage, every bold decision, every step outside your comfort zone is a shovel you use to get closer to the water. Confidence will emerge not as a gift, but as an achievement. And once you have earned it, no one can take it away from you. Never again. How many times have you felt devastated after falling? After a mistake, rejection, or a no that seemed to bury all your hopes? How often have you interpreted that as the end of the road? Most people grow up hearing that failure is shameful, that making mistakes means weakness, that if you fell, it was because you were not good enough. This silent belief accumulates, blocking dreams, swallowing attempts, suffocating talents. But what if I told you failure is not the end? It is only a disguised beginning. Napoleon Hill was among the first to reveal this truth, now confirmed by neuroscience and behavioral psychology. The meaning you give to your failures shapes the direction of your life. The problem isn't the error itself, but what you choose to do afterward. And that changes everything. If you see failure as punishment, you stop. But if you see it as a teacher, you grow. Hill said, "Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. But that seed only grows if you care for it. Caring here means learning. Turning the stumble into fuel. It sounds simple, but it's not. Because it requires a mental strength few cultivate. The ability to keep believing even when everything seems wrong. Think about how many times you tried something and did not get the expected result. Perhaps a business that failed, an opportunity that slipped away, or a relationship that ended despite so much effort. It hurts. And often that pain turns into discouragement. The mind begins to say, "It wasn't meant to be, this isn't for me, I always fail." But this kind of thinking is a trap. The more you believe it, the more it becomes true. Not because it is a fact, but because you stop trying. Now observe the difference when someone chooses to see failure as a step forward. That is exactly what Alexander Graham Bell did. The man remembered as the inventor of the telephone went through many failures, broken prototypes, ridicule, and nights full of doubt. But he never treated those failures as walls. He saw them as bricks. Each failed attempt was an adjustment, a lesson, a step ahead. He didn't think he was wrong. He thought he was discovering what did not work. And this, subtle as it seems, is what separates those who give up from those who leave a legacy. Have you ever thought that maybe that rejection diverted you from the wrong place? That mistake taught you something a success never could. Pain doesn't have to be the end. It can be refinement. Just as gold is purified by fire, your inner strength is shaped by failure. But for that, you need the courage to not give up when everything seems to collapse. Science supports this. A study from the University of Michigan tracked entrepreneurs who failed but kept trying over many years. The result? Those who persisted after the first failure had 30% more success in subsequent attempts than those who never tried. This shows one clear thing: mistakes teach. But only those who keep going truly learn. Napoleon Hill lived this himself. He had the chance to interview some of the brightest minds in American history, yet, during the Great Depression, he faced severe financial hardships. He lost trust, support vanished, and at one point he lived in hiding out of fear of retaliation. In that deep valley, he could have given up, abandoned everything, but he chose to see failure through a different lens and used his experiences as raw material for his greatest work. Think and Grow Rich was not born from a moment of glory, but from dust, falling, and restarting. That is why it still resonates with so many people today. So what will you do with your failures? Will you let them define you or use them to transform you? Will you allow mistakes to be the end or make them a stepping stone? You need to understand this once and for all. No one builds something great without stumbling. No path to excellence is straight. True success comes not from the absence of mistakes, but from repeated attempts. The difference between winners and quitters is a single decision: to continue or to stop. When you choose to continue, even hurt, doubted, and tired, you tell the universe, "I am ready." At that moment, something changes. Obstacles that once seemed barriers begin to become momentum. You start to realize each scar holds a lesson. Every rejection made you more resilient. Every failure pushed you to the next level. It does not matter how many times you have fallen until now. What matters is what you will do from now on. Failure can be a grave or a seed, and that choice is always yours. Some people spend their entire lives waiting for courage to knock on their door, waiting for fear to disappear, the situation to improve, or signs from the universe that now is the right time. But the harsh truth is that will never happen. The courage you wait to feel only appears after action. While you remain still, feeding fear with your inertia, life passes by. Opportunities slip through your fingers, and the confidence you want to build remains a distant dream. The simple truth is, fear does not understand logic, does not respond to positive thinking, good intentions, or excessive planning. Fear only retreats when you move, when you act. Because action is the only language fear cannot decode, it doesn't know how to deal with movement. It only dominates when it finds passivity. If you are waiting for the day you feel safe to take the first step, I'm sorry to say that day may never come. Safety comes from practice. Clarity comes from execution. You don't need to know the whole path, you only need to take the next step. That's where the magic happens. Because action breaks the cycle of doubt. You act, learn, adjust, and suddenly the fear that seemed huge begins to shrink. This is exactly what Andrew Carnegie did, one of the richest men in history and the direct mentor of Napoleon Hill. Carnegie started poor, delivering telegrams on foot, observing, learning, studying, and most importantly, acting. The universe responds. You meet new people, receive unexpected feedback, and discover hidden abilities. It's like a gear starting to turn, but this gear never starts by itself. You need to give it the initial push. How many times have you had an idea that thrilled you? Then came the thoughts, will this work? Am I good enough? What if I fail? And you froze, stuck in the realm of possibilities, where everything feels comfortable but nothing is real. Worse yet, over time, that idea becomes a burden. What was excitement turns into guilt. Because deep down, you know you could have done something, but you didn't. That's why action is so powerful. It changes your relationship with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your self-esteem rises. Every time you act even without knowing the outcome, you send an internal signal. I can trust myself. Over time, that trust changes how you walk, speak, and decide. You stop asking for permission. You stop waiting for validation, because you've already validated yourself in practice. Studies from Columbia University show people who decide quickly and act consistently develop more confidence and less anxiety. This shows the clarity you seek is not in thinking but in doing. Movement reveals what reflection alone cannot. And more, every time you act despite fear, your brain records it. It understands the situation isn't as threatening as it seemed. It begins to recalibrate your emotional response. What once caused panic now causes excitement. What was once a monster is now just another step. But this only happens if you move. You might have read dozens of books, watched hundreds of videos, joined courses and seminars, but if you don't act, nothing changes. Theory can prepare you, but only practice transforms you. Wisdom is in action, and freedom too. So think calmly. What is that thing you know you need to do but keep postponing? That project ready in your mind but never brought to life? That conversation that could change everything but you, delayed day after day? That choice that scares you but could be your life's turning point? What is holding you back? Is it really fear? Or is it your lack of movement feeding that fear? You don't need all the answers now, you just need to take one step, make a call, send a message, start. Because the confidence you're seeking is on the other side of your first action. And if you keep waiting for fear to disappear to move, you'll find it's exactly movement that makes fear disappear. It's not fear stopping you from advancing. It's your decision to wait for it to go away. The confidence you seek isn't in some distant future. It's born the moment you act, even with fear, doubt, and no guarantees. And every step you take, even trembling, builds the foundation of your transformation. Now, if you want to keep growing, to climb another rung in this journey of self-knowledge and courage, the next video appearing on the screen will guide you even deeper. There, you'll learn how to take the next step with clarity and purpose, becoming 1% better than you are now. Thank you very much for being here with me. I'll see you in the next video. Let's move forward together.